was a prime time to fall in love, you know. Of course, nowadays it wouldn't be 16. They've brought down the age. So anyways, Shukadeva Goswami was there in the womb. And why was he staying there for that extended period? Do you remember her?
Because he was so renounced and well, he was afraid that he would be entangled in Maya if he came out. So he just didn't bother coming out.
Right. And was anything going on while his mom was pregnant?
His father was trying to get him to come out.
I understand also he was hearing about the pastimes of the Lord. It was the safest place to be. And so that's why, that is his qualification. He heard a lot. So because he heard a lot about love, a lot about Krishna, therefore he was able to speak about Krishna. He was able to say things because he had that experience. It was in him. And yeah, there was a little bit of a healthy fear about if he came out, it might get entangled. So as soon as he came out of the womb, what happened? What happened? Did he cry?
He just left in his naked body.
Yeah, he just left. He just left. Just went. He walked through the forest, and his parents were crying, screaming for him to come back. He just decided to go. He had nothing to do with material, physical relationships, even his parents. He was just, that's how detached he was. He was so detached that he wore for his clothes the elements. That's how detached he was. Anyways, you guys try it. I remember one time, it was near the bank, and I don't know if you were around at that time, Harkamar, there was a guy, it was between here and the bank, our bank. There was a guy, a young guy, he was, what do you call it, just running. What do they have a term for that? Just running with nothing on.
Oh, streaking.
Streaking, yeah. So he was just running and, streaking. And there were two, I still remember there were two old ladies walking kind of like towards this, going north on this side of the Avenue Road. And they go, oh! But I'm sure that the fellow was doing the streaking. I'm sure he wasn't, in the same spirit as Shukadeva Goswami. He was just going for the cheap thrill. I think that's what it was, cheap thrill. There was a fellow who walked across the UK, and he did it only wearing boots. So he got put into prison a few times for indecent exposure. But as soon as he got out, he just went right back to his routine. I don't know what he was trying to prove. I don't know if he's trying to prove he had a detachment or show detachment. But Shukadeva Goswami was not detached because of his, carrying no backpack. He was detached because he was immersed in the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. He's the master of speech. And Parikshit was the master of listening. The two out of the 9 processes of devotional service. Each devotional service has its master, a representative. And so that we just talked about Shravan Kirtanam. Smaranam. Does anybody remember who had mastered Smaranam? Smaranam means remembrance. Does anybody remember? Prahlad Maharaj, yes. He remembered the Lord and therefore he could not be touched, he could not be, let's say, harmed by the Rakshasas and so on. Padasevanam, who is the person who's into Padasevanam? Serving at the feet of the Lord. Anybody, if you know it, put up your hand. Guesses are also allowed. Anybody know? Dakshi? Who's the best at giving Vishnu a massage?
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi Devi, yeah, Padasevanam. Archanam, who is the best person to demonstrate Archanam? Archana means worship of the deity. Anybody remember? Prithu. Raj the king, Prithu. Very good. Excellent. Prithu. And then Arjuna, Vandanam, prayers. Hint, hint. The guy in the middle. Who is the prayer master? Put up your hand if you know. Don't put it up if you don't know. Akrura. It was Akrura. He's there in the middle. He's leading Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, which is that's where the part we're at, isn't it? We're coming. Akrura was sent by Kamsa to get Krishna in our Krishna book reading. Okay, so that is Arjanam Vandanam, prayers, Vandanam, prayers, Vandanam Dasyam. Who has mastered Dasyam? Servitude. Anybody know? Give you a hint. Another hint. Dharma? Hanuman. Very good. Hanuman does. And then Sakyam. Who mastered Sakyam? Being a friend of the Lord. Does anybody know? Arjuna, yes. Sakyam, Atmani Vedanam means surrendering everything. Giving of everything. Anybody remember? Parkamar? Bali. Okay, great. And we also have an example of Ambarish, who gave all of his senses, everything to the Lord. He was using everything. All. So these are masters in their different fields. And we can certainly get inspired by them for being so good at their jobs, at their job descriptions. They were just so good. And the reason why we have the Bhagavatam class in the first place is that we get inspired by all the people and how they did so well. I think in regular sort of folklore, common day folklore, people highlight individuals, they call them legends, but usually I'm talking legendary figures, but they're fallible because usually what makes a story interesting about a person is the weaknesses they had to go through, the struggles they had to go through. And we can have empathy for them, but you have to look at some of these people, they're losers. So, and they did not surrender. They didn't, in most cases, they did not submit to the 9 processes of devotional service. So the heroes of Kali Yuga are not the heroes of the days of yore, of the days of the past, from the Vedic period. It's very different. The kings of the past, in Vedic times, they were very pious people. Some were not. We hear of King Vena. He wasn't a nice guy at all. He was a terrorist. He was an absolute terrorist. But for the most part, the kings and the queens were very pious beings. They had a firm faith and belief in the Supreme. And that's how they're qualified. And that's what qualifies us to be on this track of bhakti. We become qualified because we're hearing of them, we're hearing about them, we're hearing what they have to say. So what time is it right now? 8:15. Okay, good. Okay, and that's what, one of the things that we can, pull out of this first verse with the summary involved, hearing from the sages. That's of utmost importance. We're going to hear about sacrifices. We're going to hear what Vasudeva is doing, how Nanda Maharaj responds. These are all people from Vrajadam, and they've been they transferred themselves to the north. We have, of course, Vrindavan is already north in North India, but now we're going a little more north. And I guess the solar eclipse is, to see it there is special. And it also has a lot to do with the start, what initiated the whole Rath Yatra in the first place. Krishna, Balaram, Subhadra. She's mentioned here. So she's right here in the summary. Subhadra got the chance to associate with the Lord's queens, Lord Krishna's queens. Yeah, so that puts things in a better perspective. You say, oh yeah, why is it so important, this thing, this event at Kurukshetra? And of course, the people in Puri, Jagannath Puri, are very disciplined about this. They have this Rath Yatra at a certain time every year, which, as far as I understand, it was to commemorate the solar eclipse. And right now there's an issue in India where the Pandas, they are not happy about the fact, they're very opposed to ISKCON having Rath Yatras in India at all different times of the summer, and we do it when it's convenient, when there's, you can get a permit to do it and so on like that. So our Indian temples are having to deal with this tradition, and the pandas or the priests from there don't want that tradition to be broken. Now we can, anyways, we'll see how they respond, but it doesn't look like there's going to be too many Rath Yatras this year. It's going to be, we're not having ours here. Okay, so any questions, comments? Dharma Brahma?
Jagannath parade?
No.
No.
No, but our Jagannath team is already trying to figure out what we can do to substitute for it. They're going to do things online. So people will be able to watch on a screen the Rath Yatra. I mean, there will be some kind of cultural presentations and so on like that, readings and bathings and so on like that. Mostly we can highlight kirtan, I guess. But I mean, it's all going to be done like we've been doing. Things might change by that time. More people might be able to come in.
Island?
No. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Bruce.